I think there's been like a lot of trial and error. Like when you're growing, you try something and then maybe it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Maybe sometimes it does work out. It's just not like you expected, so you learn from it.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. We are so excited today to have the one and only Juan. Sorry. Juan, tell us who you are and what does your business do?
Hey Todd, thanks for having me. I'm Juan Salas, CEO and co-founder of Alto. We are a talent network of software engineers. We do staffing for businesses in the Europe and the US.
I love it. I love it. So, Juan, give us a lowdown on this. These are professionals at what? What kind of roles are you trying to supplement for people?
So anything you need to build an amazing software product, we have it most likely. So we work with product managers, software engineers, software architects, user experience professionals, data scientists, machine learning engineers. So yeah, there's many jobs.
That's a
So if
lot.
you're building a software product, we probably have what you need.
Cool, cool. And where are you sourcing the labor? Because I know a lot of this is done out of the States, or is it all domestic? Tell us about how you're organized and structured.
Well, I'm originally from Argentina, so
Awesome.
naturally, that's where we started the company originally. So naturally,
Uh-huh.
we grew a large representation of talent in across Latin America,
Cool.
which it's a very interesting, very diverse market. We do have talent in the U.S. and Europe, but I would
Yeah.
say like our stronghold is in Latin America.
Awesome. Which is easier in most cases because Latin America is in the same time zones. You're not dealing with midnight somewhere else and a lot of the other issues that you can have in other countries, right?
No, and you'll be surprised. Like there's a time zone, but there's also like usually profiles with very good English,
Right.
and they're used to working remotely. So yeah, there's a lot of alignment.
Awesome. I love it. And you've been doing this for 8 years. How did you get into this role and what kind of triggered the idea and who you wanted to serve with this business?
Yeah, that's a great question actually. So at the time back many years ago, I used to work in data science, doing research with a university in Germany. So
Right.
my background is in data science and software engineering. So we were working on
Cool.
semantic web technologies, doing all this cool stuff. Um,
Cool.
but eventually, I started to have like a side business because I did need to pay the bills, and then that business kind of grew. We did all kinds of interesting things. So we went from like working with marketing companies to doing eye tracking technology for user experience, and
Wow.
eventually we developed this concept of a talent network supported by software. So we do have our own
Cool.
platform that we use to run all of these. And yeah, that's kind of like in a nutshell the journey. Came to the US in 2017, and yeah, so it's been a journey. So we've been all over, but I'd say
Awesome.
it started out of a need to to get by, and yeah, it turned into a lifetime journey, I would guess.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you started it in Germany. Is it while you were in Germany doing data science
I
stuff? And
Yeah, I lived in Germany for a while, and
that's
we
awesome.
then I started working remotely with a German university because I went back and forth from Germany to Argentina. So that's kind of like I started being a remote worker
Love it.
myself, and then I started this business working with marketing
Very cool.
agencies, and then I guess that experience, like now that you mention it, kind of like extrapolated into a business. Me being
Right.
working remotely for Germany, kind of turned,
Right.
okay, there's an opportunity here.
Right, right, right. No, that's super cool. I've been
Mhm.
involved in BPO work in the past for a long time, and it does tend to originate mostly from your need either to make some money or you want to save some money, right? From the
Yeah,
people who are sourcing it.
yeah, and I guess at the time I saw it as well as an opportunity. Okay, we when you're doing research in the academic world, you need to get funding for your
Right.
research. You need to do there's like a lot of things involved other than like reading and writing papers.
Right.
So I
Right.
guess that kind of also, I thought of it as a time as a way of finding my own research. Like if I could make money by providing services, then I could also work
Right.
on interesting things that I enjoyed. So I think
I
that
love it.
also has been a factor.
That's cool. So you moved to the US and you chose to move to one of the most expensive parts of the country. What was your thought process there? Did you just want to get to the Bay Area to provide the services? Or was there a different reason to go to the Bay Area? Like, who is your target with the
Oh
business
yeah.
initially?
So naturally, I work with many Bay Area companies, so that is true. Because there's a lot
Gotcha.
of need of technology talent, and good people to buy great products. So there is naturally a large pool of customers here. But at the same time,
Right.
the reason why I came to the San Francisco is because I love the combination of nature and a mountain landscape,
Yeah. Yeah.
the bay itself for sailing. I love sailing, and
Wow.
also
Cool.
combined with a engaging tech ecosystem. I don't think, or in my experience, I haven't seen that. I think that's pretty unique. So
Yeah.
ever since I first came to the city, I knew this is where I wanted to be. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's kind of like a dream come true, honestly.
That's awesome. Awesome. Now tell me about the growth journey. I mean, now that we kind of know about your business, we know who you like to service with your business. Tell us about the growth journey. I mean, 8 years, it started by yourself, and then you went to Argentina and you maybe recruited a few more people. How did that growth journey happen? What are some highlights along the journey that have brought you now, 8 years later, to a full-fledged, company providing services to lots of different companies?
Yeah, no, I think there's been like a lot of trial and error. Like when you're growing, you try something and then maybe
Right,
it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Maybe sometimes it does work out. It's just not like you expected, so you learn from it. So there's been a
right.
lot of that. So we're a bootstrap company. So there's
Nice.
obviously you're trying to like apply the resources the best way you can,
Right.
because sometimes you have to make do with what you have. Um,
Agreed.
so yeah, so I think some of the experiences that we had were probably, for example, when we were first starting out of Argentina, we set up um, a lab of biometric devices to test user biometric response to external stimuli, like a user experience interface. So we could
Cool.
have people, use a web interface sometimes and test, basically with eye tracking, galvanic skin response, so basically measuring conductivity of skin, um,
Wow.
or electroencephalography. We try, okay, so what's going on behind the scenes, and we learned that basically that business model was very interesting, but the Argentinian market was very small for that. So
Right. Right.
although we loved working on it, we had to prioritize other things. So that's
Yeah.
and it was hard also to extrapolate that to you couldn't outsource that, so you had to do it in house. You had to get people to the lab. You had some mobile
Right.
devices, but not too much. So that was
Makes
one.
sense.
Yeah, so that's one was one learning, I guess, that we sometimes you get too creative, but you have to analyze what the opportunity is. It there, like, even if you love working on that, so what's the fit to the
Right.
market you're in, not the market that you wish you were in, but the one that you're actually
Right.
are. So
I am so glad you're here. And I just wanted to take a few seconds to tell you about a program that we have assembled with a lot of our podcast guests and a lot of people who are listening to the show who are feeling the same way that they do. There's a recurring theme. You'll hear a lot of these founders talk about, I couldn't have done it without my team. I couldn't have done it without a support group of peers. I couldn't have done it without having someone to talk to that understood my feeling of isolation as an operator of my business. You see, you're not alone. It is hard running a business, and it's even harder when you know you can't express all your deepest concerns and frustrations with your executive team. It makes them nervous. It gets them scared. You don't want scared people on your executive team. So where do you turn? The Captain's Council is where you turn. The Captain's Council, it is an organization that we are put together with podcast guests, as well as people who are listening who are in the same boat. You see, peers are the only ones that can give you the type of empathy, the type of advice that only a founder or operator know and understand. Go check it out at captainscouncil.com. I know you're going to love what you see there. We have put together an organizational structure that has small group settings, a global community of founders and operators, as well as monthly and quarterly in-person events. You're going to love what you see there. I can't wait for you to check it out and enjoy the rest of this episode. You know, that's a great point. I think a lot of people that are trying to grow and scale a business, they keep on thinking that this is where they need to be. But the reality is their buyers are actually somewhere else. And so how did you learn to differentiate? Like, I want to be helping these companies, but I'm totally happy helping these ones and they actually want my services. What was kind of that eye-opening experience like for you?
So that was, I guess, definitely eye-opening. But I think the dynamic, as I see it, is that sometimes it's not like you will tumble again with the same stone, but it's kind of
Yeah,
like a you will still try something and you need to go back. So I guess in terms of experience, you will be kind of like try to adjusting. So you make mistakes, but
right.
hopefully they the error margin will get smaller, if that makes sense. So
Totally
um
makes sense.
yeah, so I think, for example, sometimes we still try to focus on building our software platform, get
Yeah,
creative in that regard. And sometimes you will stray a little bit, but you remember your
right,
past experience, say, okay, I have this experience from before. You identify it quicker and you correct. So I think
right.
that's how it has worked for us. So we we,
I
we
think
try
it's
to correct
very
faster.
wise of you to recognize that, though. I think that's a big reason why a lot of people do fail is that they fail to recognize that, hey, even though I think I belong up here, my buyers are all right here, and they fail to recognize and they don't service them the way that they deserve to be treated when they're faithful, loyal customers, right?
Hmm.
And so sometimes when you're about to grow and scale your business, you need to really do an analysis and do a study on who are my favorite clients. Not who are my dream clients, but who are my favorite clients to service, who are my least favorite clients, because yes, there are clients sometimes we can't stand, right? And so we have to differentiate between these two client types and say, okay, I want to attract more of these people and less of these people. How do I do that? And can you describe how you did that? I mean, what was the journey like to try and figure out, okay, this is kind of cool. I really like these people. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so that's a great point. I think for us, and probably for other people too, is when we think in terms of who our favorite clients are. Like there's great people that we like to work with them because they're creative, they're fun, they're
Right.
doing build things. But we also need to think, who are we helping the most? um,
Yeah.
who has the biggest need and why are they buying from us? So
Right.
I think that's a big part of the equation. So for example, like going back to the previous example, we are targeting a set of companies. They were buying from
Yeah.
us because we were the only provider for this technology in the local
Right.
market. But there wasn't a big need for this service, and there were alternative ways to get a similar result. So I
Right.
think yeah, that's kind of the analysis you need to do when you think about your ideal customer. So what are the alternative
Cool.
solutions that they could do, and who else is providing this
Yeah.
service, and what's the why do
And
they
what can
trust
you
you?
upsell them into, right? Like what additional things can you offer the same clients, right?
Yeah, upselling, and and also like growing your business
Right.
strategically. um Being a bootstrap business, I think that's one part of where, when you're VC backed, you have a sort of like a validation stage. When you're pitching investors,
Right.
you're
Right.
setting up a very defined business model, you're getting grilled. When you're bootstrap, you have to make a very conscious effort to do that on your own, because you don't have that other than from the market itself.
Right.
So
Right.
so I think that's something that
Which which is usually a better, right? Like it's a better feedback to get it from the market as opposed to a VC, because sometimes the VC have an initiative that they want you to satisfy that may not be the most profitable path for the company, but it's what they want you to do, right? So I think it's pretty cool that as a bootstrap founder, you've been able to listen to your clients enough to understand their needs and adapt around what you can provide to them. I think it's really smart. I think it's awesome.
All right.
So,
Thanks, Todd. Yeah.
t- so tell us, Juan, on the flip side of this, there's always challenges. What have been some of the biggest hurdles you've had to face in trying to grow and scale your own business?
Uh, so well, I think any bootstrap founder will tell you like access to capital is one. So sometimes you have to be very careful with your budgeting and forecast,
Yeah,
especially in uncertain times like this. You have to uh, project different scenarios and account for that.
right,
So
right,
that's an obvious one, but I think it's especially important for bootstrap founders. And I think the other one is finding the right people to work with. So
yeah,
if you're trying to build something, whatever it is, you're gonna need the right people to help you. You need the right people on your corner.
right,
So I think that's the other aspect that we take very very seriously. Who we get on board on the team. So how can they help us? Are they do they have the
totally,
skills? Do they fit with our culture? So
totally.
I would name those two as the main critical factors.
Those are huge challenges, and how have you dealt with that? I mean, you mentioned that a lot of your staff are international, some are domestic, some are how do you blend that balance of, okay, my clients need this kind of attention. What do you use as parameters to kind of bring in the right people to help you nurture those client relationships better?
Yeah. So in terms of the people, we I guess it benefits that's our day to day thing. So I think we set up a pretty good system to identify great candidates and also screen them accordingly.
Right,
um, One of the challenges I think for companies, and that's something that they usually value, is that if they're trying to get an engineer on board, they
right,
usually takes a lot of time of their team to try to
yeah,
identify if these people knows what they're saying. So we set up a process basically that is works like a peer-to-peer network where a
cool,
candidate will go through multiple interviews from our talent pool, and we have
awesome,
very strict guidelines for that. So that has helped us tremendously to identify uh, hard skills. At the end of
cool,
the day, I think it's equally important to understand if that person has a good culture fit with your company, and for that, it takes a lot of introspection
right,
to understand your own culture and what are the things that are going on, not only consciously that you set up very in a very determined way that should happen within your company as a culture or as
right,
a team, but sometimes things that go under the radar and you need to understand those
for sure.
dynamics and how do you intend to correct them. So f- great culture fit is not just getting along, but it's also understanding your own culture, what are the strong points and what are also the weaknesses or things that can be improved.
Right. I love it. I love it. Um, awesome stuff, man. I love it. What as you've been going through this growth journey on your own, you're in a different country. You've been all over the world doing this business out in Europe and South America and in the US. What do you feel like is your best advice to companies who are dealing with some of these growth challenges, like the people and the budgeting and the finance and the bootstrapping is definitely a different animal. Of all those issues that you mentioned, what would be your best advice to someone who's maybe 5 years behind you in the growth cycle?
uh that's I think number one, and for experience, like think
Yeah,
think ahead and be ambitious. Don't Because I think with bootstrap companies, the risk is that you're gonna get stuck in where you are now in the day to day and the current access
right,
to capital that you have, your market opportunities. Um, it can wait on you. So I think for Bootstrap founders, it's like double up on the planning, like we said before. You don't have this opportunity of having experienced people grilling you as a proxy to the market. So
Right.
those people will grill you before you commit the expenses. So
Yeah.
when Bootstrap founders, when you learn something, it's usually an expensive lesson. So
Yeah. Usually it's very expensive.
so I think, think ahead, plan, and uh, also be ambitious,
Yeah.
um, and get to the market. Like, don't also, like, it's probably contradictory, but you have to plan, but at the same time you have to commit to action and get out there. So
I love it. Yeah, you can't sit in a back room planning for 2 years without launching anything, right?
no, that's not how it works. So you're gonna plan. The plan is gonna be great, but you better be able to sell that plan, because otherwise you're not gonna make any
Right.
money.
Right.
Mhm.
I love it. This has been an awesome conversation, Juan. I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
Yeah.
Before
Thank
we
you so
let you
much.
go, though, I want to know. Yeah, no, I want to get the shout out in because I feel this is so important to give a little bit of a kudos to those who have inspired you to do what you've done in the marketplace. Just somebody you'd like to shout out today?
Yeah, a lot of people come to mind, but I'm just gonna go with one, and I think I might be cheating here, but I'm just gonna send a shout out to my co-founder, Pablo Valdoma.
Awesome.
He's like the brother that I don't have by blood, but he's a great guy. He has been inspiring in the journey. He has been there to pick me up when things got
Love
hard,
it.
and I hopefully been there for him. So
I
we
love it.
we are very close, and he's in Madrid. So shout out to you, Pablo.
I love it. Hey, I will always take a partner shout out. I think that business partners are sometimes your best friends and sometimes your worst enemy, but when you can build a nice partnership where you still respect each other and can grow together like you have, I love it. I love it. Keep on going. So thank you, Juan, for being here with us today. We really appreciate your participation and your input and advice to people. For those listening, catch up with Juan and figure out what he's doing. See if there's a service that he can provide for you. And if you're providing similar BPO type outsourced services for specialized things, you may want to reach out to Juan and find out what he's done to save you some heartache and learning the lessons that he's had too. Juan, thank
Absolutely,
you.
yeah, always open to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Todd.
All right. You have a great one. I hope you enjoyed that interview. Tell us down below what you thought. I really do want to know if you enjoyed the interview, if there's things you wish we would have asked, if there's things you want to know. And we will continue to provide this quality content for you forever and definitely because we are so passionate about your growth and scaling journey. We want to provide you the details, provide you with these interviews. Juan is an inspiring guy. I just love his story. I love that journey, and I hope that it inspired you the same way it did me. For those of you who are trying to find yourself on the same journey or something similar, please let us know. Let us know down below. Join our community. We have a community of active CEOs and founders who are growing and scaling their businesses. The Captain's Council. Come and check it out. Let us know what you think. We are literally putting groups of people like you together to help inspire, help nurture your ideas, help nurture your growth journeys so that you can get out beyond where you're at right now and achieve the goals you want to before you exit this business. Thank you for being here with us in our community. We appreciate you listening. Please like, share, subscribe, share this with anyone you feel like needs to see it, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast.